I think I just stumbled across one of the greatest starter anime of all time. It's got one of the most thoughtfully written magic systems in recent memory, and a cast of characters that feel genuinely lovable from the moment that you meet them. Welcome back to CalverysCave, and today we're going to be taking another cave dive into one of the most promising anime projects to come along in years, Hat Atelier. Now before we dig into the full cave dive, let me put y'all on game. In a world where only those born as witches are allowed to practice magic, a young girl named Coco has spent her whole life dreaming of becoming one. One day, she accidentally uncovers the true secret behind how magic works, and, in a moment of pure excitement, tries it for herself. The results are far more serious than she expected. Taken in by a gentle witch named Keyfree, Coco is brought to his atelier and begins her life as an apprentice alongside a small group of other students. From there, the series follows her journey as she learns the art of magic, forms deep bonds with the people around her, and slowly discovers just how complicated and beautiful this world of witches really is. Now, before we get into the full story and the characters, I do want to give my flowers to the studio who created this project, Bug Films. This is the same studio that did Zom 100, so people were a little bit skeptical when they announced Hat Atelier, but they clearly took lessons from that project seriously. And there were online rumors saying that this took 7 years for the studio to produce, but the producer did clarify that actually animating this anime took them 3.5 years, which is still nothing to scoff at. And you can tell that every bit of that time was used carefully. That extra care shows up in every single episode. The consistency, the beauty, the attention to detail. It feels like they treated this as a passion project instead of just another seasonal anime. And it paid off big time. One of the biggest reasons that I fell in love with this show so fast was because of its well-written magic system. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that it's one of the best written magic systems that I've seen in a very long time. What's crazy is that before they even explain a single thing, the very first episode already shows you the foundation of the entire system. There's this wagon wheel, and if you look closely, you can already see the circle, the symbols in the middle, and all the markings around it. At first, it just looks like random decorative gibberish. You don't think anything of it, but as the story goes on, you realize that they had this whole system planned out from the jump, and they were just waiting to peel it back layer by layer. My sister even guessed how the magic works even before they fully explained it. She asked, if witches are supposed to live in secrecy, how are they drawing in public without people noticing? And the show actually answers that. They took the time to explain how witches can perform magic out in the open without anyone realizing that they're drawing. That level of thoughtfulness is rare. Every single symbol means something. The size of the circle matters. Whether the circle is fully closed matters. If your lines are wobbly, that matters. If one symbol is slightly bigger than the others, that matters too. The show doesn't just hand you a cool aesthetic and call it a day. It actually teaches you the rules, the common mistakes, and the logic behind it all. It's detailed, it's consistent, and it feels like they thought of everything. That's what makes this magic system so special to me. And what I love even more is how the magic system isn't just cool for the sake of being cool. It's directly tied into the show's bigger themes: creativity, restriction, and knowledge. Magic in this world is heavily restricted. There are strict rules about what you're allowed to draw and what you're not. Crossing those lines can get you erased, hunted, or even worse. That restriction creates this constant tension. The witches are powerful, but they're also living inside of a cage of their own making. At the same time, the system rewards creativity. The best solutions in the show don't come from just copying existing spells. They come from the characters looking at a real problem in front of them and experimenting, adjusting the size of a circle, combining symbols in new ways, or twisting a known spell just enough to make it do something different. Some of the most satisfying moments are when the kids are forced to think outside of the approved methods and invent something on the spot. And that leads into the whole idea of forbidden magic. The show doesn't treat it like simple evil magic. A lot of the time, forbidden magic exists because someone was trying to solve a genuine problem and the official system refused to allow it. That gray area is what makes the world feel alive. Knowledge is power here, but knowledge is also dangerous. The more you understand about how magic actually works, the more you start questioning the rules that were put in place to control it, which is what makes Keyfree such an interesting character, but we'll get to that. So the magic system isn't just a set of rules for fighting or solving puzzles, it's the main way that the story explores freedom versus control, curiosity versus safety, and what happens when people are told that there's a hard limit on what they're allowed to create. Another thing that this show does very well is its exposition. Now, let's let's be honest, most of the time, exposition is the part of the story that totally kills the momentum. The second that a show starts dumping information on you, a lot of people, including myself, just immediately check out. But which Hat Atelier does it differently? Whenever the show needs to explain something important about the world or the magic system, it keeps it short and then switches into this beautiful pop-up book animation style. The art suddenly becomes this layered, storybook look that feels completely different from the regular scenes. And it works. Instead of feeling like you're being lectured, you actually lean in because it looks so good. Now, I know some people might say that, oh, it's just caveman brain. You're only paying attention because it's pretty. And yes, maybe there might be some truth to that. I'm usually not a big fan of heavy exposition, but this show kind of proved that presentation matters. When you take necessary information and deliver it in a style this visually interesting, it stops feeling like a chore. You want to understand what's being explained. It's a small thing, but it makes a huge difference in how smooth the story feels overall. The information never really slows the show down the way that it does in so many other series. But that's enough about exposition. Let's talk about the characters. More importantly, Coco, and she's the heart of this series. What makes her so interesting is that she's one of the only character who actually loves magic. Most of the other witches treat it like a duty. It's sacred, it's restricted, it's a responsibility that they were born into. For a lot of them, being a witch feels closer to a job than a passion. Coco is the complete opposite of that. She's genuinely excited about it. She wants to learn every form of magic that she can get her hands on, and that pure love for the craft is what sets her apart. And because she approaches magic with so much curiosity and joy, she's able to reach the people around her in a way that no one else can. She inspires the other characters to think differently, to be more creative, and in some cases to actually feel proud of what they can do. Her perspective starts rubbing off on them, and the fact that she's still a child works in her favor. She doesn't fully understand all of the rules and limitations yet, so her mind goes to places that more experienced witches wouldn't even consider. That leads to some of the most creative solutions in the show. Her magic is still messy and imperfect this season. She's learning in real time, making mistakes, and figuring things out as she goes. One of the best examples of her character is the episode that she shares with Tarta. She doesn't care about his limitations. She doesn't look down on him or treat his condition like a dead end. She just encourages him to keep going and find his own way. And that kind of sincerity is rare. Coco is just a really solid protagonist. She's likable without being annoying, optimistic without feeling fake, and her love for magic becomes the emotional core that holds a lot of the story together. And then we've got Kiefer. And man, what an interesting character. On the surface, he's presented as one of the core good guys, the kind of mentor who takes Coco in and guides her. But the longer that the season goes on, the more you start feeling like there's something else going on underneath. There's a real sense of mystery surrounding him, and that layering is what makes him one of the most compelling characters in the show. Yeah, you can criticize the design a little, the white hair, striking eyes. He's definitely got a little bit of that Gojo fever going on. It's a look that's been used a lot lately in recent anime, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This particular design works, and it fits him. What really makes Kiefer interesting is the sense that he's not fully aligned with the system that he's a part of. The show makes it clear that healing magic used to exist, but it got banned because it involved using magic directly on people, something that the Knights Moralis decided crossed the line into forbidden territory. You're allowed to use tools and items to help people, but not magic itself on their bodies. Kiefer seems deeply interested in the Brimmed Caps and the knowledge that they have about forbidden magic. I don't think that he's a straightforward villain. I don't get the sense that he's doing this out of pure malice, but I do think that he's willing to bend or break the rules if it means changing a system that he believes is wrong. There's a quiet intensity about him, like he's carrying a purpose that goes beyond just teaching kids at an atelier. And when we see how he handles certain situations later in the season, including with Mr. Noa, it becomes pretty clear that he's prepared to make some hard, maybe even ruthless choices for what he believes in. Is he a villain in the making, or is he somebody who's willing to get his hands dirty and willing to take necessary risks for what he believes to be the greater good? And the show is playing that tension really well so far. And can we talk about the eye thing real quick? They still haven't fully shown his right eye. He's got that dark glass covering it the entire season. Near the end, when Coco reaches towards his glasses, he stops her, and that little moment felt intentional. There's definitely more there, and I'm very curious to see what they're holding back. Next up is Agat, and you know what? I don't know what to feel about her. What's clear is that she's obsessed with being perfect. That drive is tied to her backstory, and the show makes you feel how deeply it runs. The thing is, the story almost seems like it's trying to make you suspicious of her, the way that she's framed at times, the decisions she makes, the cold attitude. It feels like they're intentionally feeding you the idea that she might be connected to something darker, maybe even the Brimmed Caps. I'm not convinced that's actually the case, but the presentation is doing a lot of work to plant that doubt. She does things that are hard to like. Sending Coco into her first test the way that she did could have gotten her killed, and Agat basically shows no remorse for it. She doesn't really face any real consequences for that decision either. You can also see how badly she wants to move on to the second test so she can start using magic in public. That hunger for progress and recognition is all over her character. One of the better moments with her is when Orugio over here steps in and shuts that mindset down. He forces her to reconsider what she even believes magic is for, and you can tell that it lands. Those kind of moments are what keep me interested in her. Do I think that she's a villain? Right now, no. I think that she's a girl who's been pushed so hard towards perfection that it warped how she treats other people. If the story turns her into a full antagonist, honestly, I would be a little bit disappointed. I'd rather have them dig deeper into why she's like this so we can see her personal growth. That said, the dynamic between her and Coco has a lot of potential. There's a tension there that could turn into something really strong if the show keeps developing it. I'm hoping future seasons give Agat the expansion that she needs, because there's clearly more going on with her than just the strict perfect one. As for Tetia and Riche, I'm gonna be real with y'all. They're just underdeveloped compared to everyone else. We don't get a whole lot of depth from either of them yet, and because of that, they kind of fade into the background at times. You could even argue that their magic isn't as stand out as some of the others, but for me it's more about that lack of personal substance so far. That said, I don't think that this is a permanent thing. This is only the first season, and it feels like the show is still setting pieces up. Riche especially starts showing signs of her own little arc during the second exam towards the end of the season, so I'm actually pretty curious to see where they take her. I'm hoping both of them get more focus moving forward, because right now they just haven't had enough time to really leave a strong impression. They're not bad, they're just not there yet. Now, Tarta and Mr. Nolnoa. These two characters I ended up liking a lot more than I expected. Mr. Nolnoa is basically the go-to guy in the magic world when you need pens and ink. He's the older, steady presence who clearly takes the rules and the magic code seriously. What makes his dynamic with Kiefer so interesting is the quiet tension underneath the surface. Nolnoa is loyal to the system, and Kiefer is clearly willing to push against it. You can feel that conflict building, and when Nolnoa gets caught up in Kiefer's ambitions, it leads to some genuinely serious moments later on. I'm really curious to see where that plotline goes, because it already feels like one of the more grounded adult conflicts in the show. And then there's Tarta. This kid is fascinating. He was born with silver eyes, which leaves him completely colorblind. And in a world where magic is so heavily tied to visual precision and drawing, that condition basically makes him feel useless. At least, that's how he sees himself. The witches in this world don't seem very forgiving towards medical conditions like this, and you can tell that that weight sits on him. What I do love is how Coco refuses to accept that limitation. She doesn't treat his condition like a dead end. She sees potential where everyone else sees a problem, and she actively pushes him to keep going forward. That encouragement feels important. I genuinely believe Tarta is going to become a witch later on, and that those silver eyes are going to matter in a bigger way. Whether it's some kind of resistance to certain magic, a different way of perceiving spells, or a form of creativity that regular witches don't have access to. Coco sees something in him that the rest of the magic world overlooks, and I think that the story is quietly setting that up. Both of them also have these very thick Irish accents in the English dub. Oh, and it works so well. I can't really think of another anime that leans into accents like this. And the casting choice really pays off. It gives them a distinct flavor that just sticks with you. There's also that one scene where Tarta questions Kiefer about what happened to his grandfather. It's a little tropish in how both of them kind of avoid fully confronting the issue and leaving it hanging, but it still worked for Tarta's character. It shows that he's skeptical, observant, and not the type to just blindly trust people. Even someone like Kiefer. That wariness makes him feel more grounded and well-rounded. And while it's pure speculation on my part, the way that the story frames Tarta's respect for Coco makes me wonder if there's a longer-term connection being set up between them. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing how both of them grow from here. Orugio is another standout character for me, and this could just be because personal bias or because of the English dub, but this guy's voice is golden. His voice is deep, grounded, and carries this thick Northern English accent, almost Scottish, that just works so well for him. It's captivating in a way that's hard to ignore. That voice alone makes him feel more imposing than he might have been on paper. He comes across as this steady, no-nonsense presence, and it fits his role perfectly. As the watchful eye assigned to Kiefer's Atelier, Orugio basically serves as the adult in the room. He has this strict, almost fatherly energy to him. He's not warm and fuzzy about it either. He's firm, and he has his reasons. More importantly, he's one of the only people who seems to be willing and able to actually keep Kiefer in check. That alone makes him valuable in this group. We don't get a ton of backstory on him this season, but the way that he carries himself and handles situations already give him a more mature, grounded vibe that the Atelier really needs. There's a quiet authority to him that I respect. I'm genuinely captivated by the character, and I'm hoping that future seasons give us more of him, because right now, he feels like someone with a lot more going on under the surface. Real quick, I do also want to mention Ueni, the timid, black-haired kid from the second exam. There's not a whole lot to say about him yet. He's anxious, clearly struggles with confidence, and spends most of the time looking like he'd rather be somewhere else. Still, I got the sense that he's meant to serve as some kind of mirror or inspiration for Riche during that arc. I'm hoping that the show doesn't just drop him after this season, because even in the limited time that we got with him, there was something quietly compelling about his situation. Now, let's talk about the antagonistic forces in the show, because the way that Hat Atelier handles its villains is genuinely interesting. First up, the Brimmed Caps. These guys are menacing in a very effective way. They don't show up every episode screaming and monologuing, but when they do appear, there's this quiet, unsettling weight to them, and you can feel that they know things that the pointed capped witches don't, and that knowledge alone makes them dangerous. The show does a good job of making them feel like a real threat without overexposing them. Their presence lingers even when they're not on screen. That said, I do have one complaint, and it's mostly a joke, but it still bugs me a little. Why are the bad guys the ones with the cool white brimmed caps, while all of our other heroes are wearing these giant pointy dunce hats? The brimmed caps look interesting and intimidating. Our main cast looks like they just got sent to the corner for talking in class. Part of me wishes that the roles were reversed. I'm supposed to care about the characters who don the Yankees with no brims? The Brimmed Caps sounds like a really cool name, but I really wouldn't have minded if our main characters were fighting the brimless. That would have sounded cool too. And then you've got the Knights Moralis, and that's where things start to get a little bit interesting. On the surface, they're the enforcers of the magic world's rules. They're the ones who step in when someone crosses the line into forbidden magic. They're presented as the necessary authority, keeping everything in check. But the more that the season goes on, the more I start side-eyeing them. The way that they operate, the absolute nature of their judgments, and the fact that they're the ones who ban things like healing magic. It all started to feel a little too rigid, a little too controlling. I wouldn't be surprised if the story eventually positions the Knights Moralis as a second antagonistic force alongside the Brimmed Caps. Not necessarily evil in the cartoon sense, but as an oppressive system that believes it's doing the right thing while causing real harm. That kind of gray conflict would fit this series perfectly. I also want to talk about the dragon fight because I was about to have a problem with the show, and then it clicked for me. The plan that the kids come up with is frankly kind of ridiculous. When you first see what they're trying to do, it's hard not to raise an eyebrow. It feels childish and underbaked, and I was sitting there ready to criticize it, but then I remembered these are actual children. Of course they would come up with something like that. They're not seasoned warriors with years of combat experience. They're kids who are scared, under pressure, and trying to survive with the limited tools and knowledge that they have. And once you look at it through that lens, the stupid plan suddenly feels honest instead of lazy. And importantly, the show doesn't let that plan carry the whole sequence. It doesn't last long, things go wrong, the situation escalates, and then Kiefer steps in. The way that he handles the dragon is one of the most beautiful moments in the season. The animation, the sense of scale, and the score, they all come together in a way that completely steals the scene. It's the kind of sequence that reminds you why this show's production values are so high. Finally, I want to talk about more of the technical aspects about Hat Atelier, because for me, that is where this story truly shines. Let's start with the sound design. From the very first episode, you can already tell that they put real care into it. There's a scene where Coco is climbing down a wooden ladder, and every single step sounds slightly different. That kind of attention to detail is rare. As a longtime One Piece fan, I have to be completely honest. One of the biggest issues that I have with that show is how bad the sound design is. That problem simply doesn't exist here. One of my favorite little details is a scene where Tetsuya is upset and she starts talking with a wooden spoon in her mouth. And if you listen closely, you can actually hear the spoon clanking against her teeth. Most shows would just muffle their voice and call it a day. This one took the extra step, and it's those tiny details that truly bring everything together. The music is just as strong. The score in the show is beautiful, and I'll admit there's some personal bias there because this style of music is already right up my alley, but certain moments genuinely got to me. There's a scene where Coco is flying through the sky while thinking about her mother, and the music underneath nearly brought a tear to my eye. It elevates the emotion without ever feeling forced. And then there's the English dub, which I do need to talk about carefully. I am, for the most part, a sub-only person. I can count on one hand the amount of times where I actually preferred the English dub over the original Japanese version. And even then, it's usually not by much. Hat Atelier is genuinely one of those rare exceptions. This is one of the only shows where I actively prefer the dub. A lot of English shows have maybe one or two standout performances, and the rest feel serviceable at best, but that is not the case here. Almost the entire cast is strong. There were only a couple of voices that didn't fully click with me, but the rest are excellent. And Orugio in particular, his voice is incredible, deep, textured, and perfectly suited to the character. If you haven't tried this show in English yet, I would highly recommend that you do so. After rewatching this season, I can confidently say that I'm ready to give my first ever 10 out of 10 rating for my Cave Dive series. Not only that, I'm willing to put it at the very top of my list for the #1 starter anime of all time. The characters, the magic system, the production quality, the heart, it's all there. Hat Atelier is very special, and I'm really glad that I took the time to cover this show. But what do you guys think? Should I cover the manga? Because I'm gonna be reading it either way. But yeah, that's everything that I got for you guys in this episode of Cave Dive. If there's anything that I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear about them. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a future upload. And if you missed any of my other Cave Dive episodes, feel free to hit the link and check it out. Don't forget to stay beautiful, guys, and I will see you in the next video. You still here?